This month in Carolina real estate, Hurricane Helene has washed away much of western North Carolina and Asheville. The NAR settlement from this past summer is getting buyers some of the best deals that I've ever seen. Plus, the economy cool down is causing the Charlotte real estate market to heat up. All that and more coming up right now, starting with Asheville and Hurricane Helene. Asheville received a record-breaking 17.9 inches of precipitation in September, which was quite literally the most rain that the region has ever gotten in 1 month, let alone dumped on the area in a 3-day period. Absolutely insane. Like, the towns literally used to be road, used to be businesses and buildings, completely gone. This has literally never happened before in known history. Anything that you can do to help these people, they need it so much. I'm gonna put links down in the description to a few different reputable organizations who are on the ground really helping. Now I got a comment from Jose asking, are people moving after the destruction from the hurricane? And the simple answer is yes, but not moving out. I've had numerous calls from Floridians who are trying to get up here and get away from getting pummeled by hurricanes every single year. However, there was an interview I saw that I thought put so nicely just how much the people that live in North Carolina love it. Check out this clip.
I don't want to live anywhere else. My sister lives in the Keys, so Florida Keys is one of the most beautiful places in the country, and I don't care. I don't want to live anywhere but here. So it's just really hard. It's like the one thing that you want is the one thing you can't have.
Right.
What do you do when you own property?
Yeah.
It's just not there anymore. It's a river now.
That clip was from Mark Honeycutt's channel here on YouTube. You can go check him out. He has some of the best videos I've seen anywhere documenting the just incredible destruction that we have seen here in western North Carolina. Transitioning to the economy, cool down. There's been a lot of discussion about, are we in a recession? Are we not? Is it a rolling recession? Are we not in a recession yet? But we will be, lots of things. But the one thing that is for sure is Jerome Powell, the chairman for the Federal Reserve, did announce that the Fed is cutting rates by 50 basis points. I made a video on this previously, but I got some questions I wanted to clarify. Number one, and this was something I've always wondered too, is the Fed cut rates, but does that mean that they cut mortgage rates? First, you have to understand mortgages are similar to bonds because mortgages, when they are originated, when they're created, when you take out a mortgage, the person that gives you that mortgage takes a bunch of them, packages them up all in a bundle, basically a bond, and then they sell it to large banks and people like that who then make money off the interest. Now, those mortgage-backed securities are very similar to bonds. Think about it like you're going shopping at the grocery store. You might have 2 types of apples or 2 types of ice cream that are almost identical. In fact, maybe the only difference is the packaging that they come in. And so an investor that has an appetite for a certain type of investment, let's say, a butter pecan, if they find salted butter pecan, they might want to get both because they're really similar and they like one, so they like the other. And so you'll see that mortgage rates will follow very closely with the 10-year Treasury note, which is directly affected by the Federal Reserve's prime rate. So then this begs the question, why did mortgage rates go up when the Federal Reserve cut the prime rate? And that has 2 factors in there. So one was they cut it by 50 basis points or 0.5%. They also said that they would continue to do future rate cuts as data came in. They said they were data dependent on that decision. And what the market had priced in, what everybody was expecting and already beginning to price in as they anticipated this rate cut, was 25 basis points with the expectation for future cuts. However, because they said that there was no guarantees of more cuts, even though they made a bigger cut than expected, markets did not like this and actually moved the other direction. However, you have to look at why they're doing this. Jerome Powell and the Fed, well, the Fed's charter is to reduce inflation and keep a strong labor market. They have already said they have eliminated inflation. It's looking great. However, the labor market is starting to falter. And in anticipation of that, in order to prevent some sort of wider labor market issue, they're cutting rates in order to incentivize more hiring and investment. So in order to protect the labor market, there will be more rate cuts. And the real question is, how will those rate cuts impact North Carolina real estate in particular? So going back to the goal of all this, it's to save the labor market and make sure we have a strong labor market. And so when you're looking at North Carolina in particular, there's a best case scenario and there's a worst case scenario. The best case scenario is they did a great job. They saved the entire US labor market and, recession avoided. Everything's going to be great. Everything's going to be warm and fuzzy. And we're going to continue on the path that we're already on, which is all rainbows and sunshine. However, the worst case scenario is the opposite of that. If the jobs market does begin to falter and underperform, the interesting thing in all of this is North Carolina, even over the last 4 or 5 years, has almost been in its own little world apart from the rest of the US. Our unemployment numbers and our wage growth have completely gone in the face of the national averages and trends, including wage growth of 5.4% over the US average of 3.9 since 2019, and unemployment was just at 3.7% in North Carolina as opposed to the 4.3% nationally. And because banking, healthcare, and education are the 3 primary drivers of employment in North Carolina, it would make sense that if there was some sort of counter-cyclic move, i.e. a recession, that North Carolina real estate would continue and the jobs market would continue to rocket up even higher and do even better for 2 really important reasons. Number 1 is healthcare, people are going to buy it regardless because you have to have healthcare. Number 2 is because of the banking industry. If you can hire the same analyst for $150,000 or $200,000 in New York, or in the number 2 banking hub in the US, Charlotte, North Carolina, you can hire them for half of that. Banks like more money, good. They would be exponentially more likely to lay off or transfer their New York counterparts down here, where they're able to make significant savings on the labor. And so even if there were some sort of layoffs in the banking and financial industry, when they rehire them, they're probably going to lay them off in New York and bring them down here. And we've seen this as a trend over the past 5 years, which is one of the reasons why Charlotte has become the number 2 financial hub in the entire US, and also why we have seen, again, this really strong wage growth compared to the rest of the US. Either way, we're going to see 2 things. Number 1, mortgage rates will continue to drop over the next 12 months, and 2, people will continue to move here. 1, because it's just a wonderful place to live, and 2, because people like to have a lower cost of living and strong wage growth, both of which North Carolina does boast, and both of which low rates as well as people moving here are going to cause more buyers to enter the market or come back into the market, which will continue to drive not crazy, but strong appreciation. I would expect somewhere between 4.8 and 5.2% based off of what the analysts are saying and what we're seeing here in the market, as well as the reduction in interest rates will start to make it make sense for more sellers to consider moving and trading up or downsizing into something that will make, more budget sense for them. And so that increase in sales will lead to more liquidity, which will help our entire market here to sort itself out a little bit, and you'll get to see some more options. Not some huge drop in prices, but you will see much more selection in terms of options. Now for the NAR settlement and its impact on the North Carolina market as I'm currently seeing it. So everybody asked me, how did the NAR settlement affect North Carolina? And if you aren't familiar, the NAR settlement was essentially something that said that there needs to be more disclosure, more understanding around how buyer agents work with buyer clients, because believe it or not, 38 of the 50 states had no buyer representation leading up to this. We already had buyer representation in North Carolina, and so as a result, we have had little to no impact on the regulatory side, besides the fact that there is less transparency around what sellers offer for compensation, because now as a buyer agent, we are able to go and negotiate that directly with the seller, and because again, people are good at negotiating, all the time. We've actually, in many instances, been able to negotiate more than the fee that I set with my clients, and as a result, we're able to take that additional money and pass it along to clients, and so many of our clients are sometimes getting even more money than they would have gotten previously as we negotiate seller-paid closing costs and other sorts of seller-paid concessions prior to the NAR settlement. So as a result, the things that we are able to ask for, because negotiation in general has become so much more of a point of conversation in transactions, I've been able to get stuff that I honestly did not think I would ever see being able to ask for throughout a transaction, including like seller paid closing concessions as much as 5 or 6% towards your closing costs, all the appliances, furnishings, getting all sorts of things for free. I even had one seller offer to build a dock from scratch with 2 boat slips. And it was a nice property. It was not that nice of a property where that was like a necessity. There are lots of things that we're starting to see be able to negotiate for our clients that were just not in the conversation even a few weeks or months prior to the NAR settlement, because again, sellers that need to sell have to sell, and they're doing whatever it takes to appease a buyer at this time. I've also had some people asking what percentage of my clients are having to pay out of pocket for buyer agent representation. And at least this year, that percentage is 0. In fact, I don't think I've ever had somebody pay out of pocket for a commission more than maybe a couple $100, because think about it this way, the only people that would really be so totally unreasonable when it comes to making sure that you have adequate representation are also the people that are completely unreasonable when it comes to the property itself. And so I've only had one property this entire year where that point of negotiation was an issue, and that seller wanted $525 for their property, and it was worth no more than $485. And even after being confronted with the numbers, they were completely unwilling to budge on the price or any terms, and they have since withdrawn that listing after it sat for months, getting absolutely no eyeballs because they wanted $40,000 more than it was worth. Now, if you'd like to find the right home and get the best possible deal on it anytime in the next 12 months, including I also help you get ready to purchase, you can call, text, email, or scan the QR code right here to book a time directly on my calendar to chat and see if I might be able to help you. And if you'd like to learn about the different types of homes specific to North Carolina you should never buy, because we got some weird ones, check out this video right here.